Hello, all. I am here today to talk about a question that I was asked on yesterday. Actually, I got two really important questions and I want to answer them. And they both really involve people having to repivot after this latest string of job losses. Unless you've been under a rock, you probably have heard that there have been tremendous job losses since the beginning of the year. In fact, just yesterday, Amazon announced a huge layoff. I saw UPS and Chegg all announcing huge layoffs. So, what we have is a lot of people who are looking for answers, and it may be to start a new business or to start looking for a career. So, I had two yesterday, two really good questions. So I'm going to do two videos. So you'll see which one is most appropriate for you. So what are we going to do with this video? With this video today, we're going to be talking about updating your resume for today. Okay. Not a resume that maybe was appropriate the last time you looked, but have you honestly had to prepare a resume in the new age of AI, right? Because it is a whole different ball game. So we're going to talk about this. The other question I got was more of a business startup question, and we'll do that on another video. Hi, my name is Darlene Booth Bell. Everyone just calls me Dr. Bell, and I am a part of what I call the Repurpose Lab community. I have a Skool, Skool community, and you'll see the link in my description where I talk about repurposing your career. Whether that is a new career, right, that you are just starting all over, or finding a job in your existing career, but maybe a better one that you love more, or just forgetting the jobs and let's go straight to business ownership. But in either case, stop on over to our Skool community to talk more about that. But what we're going to talk about today in this video is about resume. And specifically, I want to talk about action words. Okay. Because again, today, if your resume doesn't address AI, it's just not going to get seen. Okay. Um, right now we have at last I saw over 300,000 Black women like myself who have been laid off. Okay. We have hundreds of thousands of other people who have been laid off. And so let's write resumes to address and get those jobs that may be out there. Okay. So who is hiring? That's the first thing. Decide where it is you think you might want to end up. Okay. You may feel like any job's a good job when you don't have one. And to some degree, that's definitely true. But it may be that you have to take something that you're not crazy about right away, but never stop improving your resume so that as you move forward, as you get your feet back under you again, you can move to the next level of the job you really want to be in. Okay. So craft a resume that is great for where you want to be. If, and I do mean if, you're lucky enough to get your resume in front of a recruiter, but again, mostly these things are going through AI first. So let's talk about um, how we're going to structure our resume. When I would say more than 10 years ago, most of the resumes were what we call chronological. And that just means you see your name and maybe an objective, and then in chronological order, what jobs you've held, okay? And in some ways, it almost is like you can't leave anything out because it's like lying, right? Or you can't do anything other than list your exact job, exactly what you did, or you're lying, right? No one wants to be accused of lying. Um, However, that has changed a bit. A lot of resumes have transformed into what we call more of a functional resume. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And then sometimes we can take the combination of those two things. Okay. So, for example, if you're doing a chronological resume, your career gaps are going to really pop out, right? So, if you've been at home for a while as a stay-at-home mom, I was a stay-at-home mom for a short period of time. And if you have a chronological resume, it's gonna really pop out at people. So maybe that's not the best resume for you. And maybe you want to focus more on the actual jobs that you've held or the positions or the volunteer work or whatever you've been doing. Okay. So that's the first thing. If you visit my school, you will see examples of the different types of resumes, the chronological, the functional, and the combination. What format are you using right now? If you don't mind, if you can just drop in the chat what format you're using right now, I would love to see what people are currently doing. Okay. So, all right. So the first thing, of course, you're going to do, you're going to put your name at the top. If it's been a long time since you've been in the job market, you may not understand that you no longer have to list things like your address, right? That's no longer necessary. Your email is going to be the most important thing at the top because that's how people are going to contact you. You certainly on your resume are going to include some sort of work history. And again, how you do that is going to really vary based on what's best for what you're applying to and what your background is. And you're going to speak to your education, you're going to speak to your skills. I want you to think about a bullet formula so that you can teach what it was you did and what the result was. Okay. So not always just, this position chronological, but what is it that you did and what was the result of that? So instead of saying something like, I was responsible for managing projects, you can be really specific, like managed a $100,000 project that cut costs by 10%, right? Or you were able to build a new brand that launched in, 90 days or what have you. But very simple bullet points that really explain what you've been doing is always important. You may want to mention your LinkedIn or something that they can go to get more information. If you really do get in front of, a person's eyes, really looks at your resume. But any type of numbers or actual results are really a good idea. All right. Second, I know it's really, really, really seems efficient to do one resume that covers everything, but it's really not going to work anymore, especially again in the age where you have AI scanning your resume. AI is looking for some really specific keywords for that job. So you really need to customize your resume every single time. Every single time you apply for a job. Yes, that's gonna, take a lot of time, but again, there's some AI resources, and those AI resources are going to help you to do that much quicker. You also want to highlight key terms in your resume that go right with that job description. Okay, so you don't have to start over necessarily on your resume, but you really do need to realign your focus so that your focus is more on what are the things that you have done, what have been the outcomes of those things. All right. Let's look at this action word. Okay, let's look at action words. And I'm going to give you some examples of action words so that you'll know what I'm talking about. When I say action words, this is what I'm talking about. In some of the like overused terms that we see on resumes, which really don't mean a whole lot. Okay. Think about terms like responsible for, or motivated, or experienced, or team player. I mean, what does that even mean, right? What specifically does it mean that can speak to that job description that you want? So think about stronger, more action words such as forged, spearheaded a project, streamlined a process, coordinated a group or process, um, invented something, empowered my staff to, right? Things that sound very confident, things that sound very specific, and but more so things that sound also really authentic, like you're the one that can get things done. I would really, really stay away from things like emojis, any kind of creative fonts, and most certainly not a picture. Okay. I was on a pretty widely used resume site and I looked at the examples of the resumes that they were giving, and a lot of those resumes had photographs, fancy fonts, all kinds of borders, and all sorts of things that really become a distraction for whatever tool is reading your resume. And honestly, unless you're in a very creative field, I'm not sure that it's well received. Okay. So, what the format of your resume, what you're putting on your resume may change based on the fields that you're working in, whether you're in the marketing area or whether you're in graphic design or whether you're in banking. There is some room, but I think that for that first pass, that first AI pass, you really have to just keep it simple and focus on the keywords that that tool is going to be picking up. Okay. Um, I think that's it. Like I said, I have a Skool product that I offer over there, which will actually take your resume in AI and give you the prompt to use to redo your resume, to actually refine it, that is a better fit for today's AI environment. So if you want to join me over there, we'll be happy to have you in our community where we discuss all things repurposing. That is pivoting to a new career, pivoting to a new business, and figuring out what we want to be when we grow up. So thanks so much and best wishes. If you're facing a job layoff, I wish you the best and hope that something that we offer can be of assistance for that. Thanks. Bye.